Tell you guys a little bit about what we do at InsideView, how we use Fliptop. It's pretty interesting. It's really shown some good results for us over the course of this year. And one of the interesting things, especially for my role, historically it was only about leads, and right now it's really more focused in on driving revenue for the company. So right now I can go to my boss and be like, hey, we just did this great Dreamforce event and we ultimately generated over 8,000 leads, and the next thing he invariably will say to me is like, yeah, who really cares? How much revenue did you actually drive from it? And I think it really underscores a trend in the industry, and certainly something that we see at InsideView and something I feel in my day-to-day. And so when we started off this year, some of our ultimate goals from a demand gen perspective were to help drive revenue. And we wanted to do that from a couple different areas. We wanted to really increase the speed to engage the lead. So when a lead comes inbound, fills out a form, signs up for one of our free trials, we wanted to make sure that we were actually engaging with that lead as quickly as possible. The other thing that we wanted to do, obviously, was just drive an increased number of opportunities for our sales team. So we wanted to increase both the speed as well as the quantity of deals that we are sending into our internal sales team. The other thing that we really wanted to do was ensure a really good process for our prospects. And this is something that I think a lot of marketing folks don't necessarily think about, especially people in my role. But you really are the kind of first step in a customer journey for hopefully what turns out to be customers. And what a lot of people don't necessarily think about is the impact that things like lead forms, your lead flow, and how you're dealing with leads at the top of the funnel really impact the overall brand impression, and could also impact things like renewal rates further down the funnel once you get to a year two, for instance. So these were some of our goals that we wanted to really accomplish in 2014. It's just more deals. We wanted to be a lot more effective. We also wanted to ensure a really great experience for our prospects and customers that were engaging in our content, coming to our events, coming to webinars, things like that. And some of the challenges that we really found during this process, and I think this is probably nothing new to a lot of people here, buyers are really driving a lot more of this process. So gone are the days when they have to dial up a sales rep and actually ask them questions about what your software does or what your product does. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of information put out by your competitors. They're really at a point right now where they can drive close to 2/3 of the deal. And interesting, this kind of tidbit, by the time someone actually comes and speaks to a sales rep, they've likely gone at least 2/3 of the way through the buying process. And that's when they actually come inbound to you and start the sales process. So if you don't have a lot of these things thought out and you're not really solving these challenges, you're really going to be kind of left by the wayside, so to speak. The other thing which is interesting, because of all the kind of explosion of inbound and content marketing, is, quite frankly, a lot of the data sucks when it comes inbound. You get a lot of personal addresses, you get a lot of incomplete data fields that are there, and this actually poses a real challenge to things like lead scoring. One of the kind of goals that we wanted to do was really to improve the overall experience of our users, and really long form fields are not a good experience. They just aren't. So if you've got your demand gen forms with 10, 11 form fields, you're leaving a lot on the table because people are going to get frustrated, they're not filling out your forms, and they're just going to go to someone else, right? So because of this, the fact that you aren't getting the complete data, you are really struggling with having the proper fields on a form, I think is really going to be a pretty big challenge that you want to be able to go in and face at that point. The other thing which is pretty interesting too is at this time, a lot of traditional demand gen techniques really are starting to lose effectiveness. People are saturated with banner ads, so traditional digital advertising tends not to be as effective anymore. So you really have to be creative, and you have to get a lot more out of limited resources that you would have and limited engagement with top of funnel programs. So with that in mind, one of the things that we wanted to do, and Fliptop really allows us to do this, is the key to what we do at InsideView is really try to marry a relevant message with a timely message. So not only are you going to speak to something that's really important to that prospect, but you're going to do it at the right time. And a couple interesting stats up here, only 10% of prospects are really ever going to respond to a cold call or a cold email. But if you were able to turn that cold email into something that is relevant to them, both from a content standpoint, but also you're doing it in a timely fashion, so it's important to them when it's actually important to them, your response rates really go up pretty significantly, and 80% of the respondents are going to actually engage with an email. So an example is if you know that you've got a prospect on the site that just downloaded an ebook, and you also know that they've just recently gone through a funding announcement and they're having to actually go and start to scale up a sales process, that's going to actually connect the dots and allow you to have a more informed follow-on with them. So by taking that information and really kind of matching that relevant message with the timely message and getting it out there really is kind of the key to some of the success we've driven and really what Fliptop helps us do. So Inside View really kind of fits into this pretty nicely as well. And one of the things that we do is we help with those form fields and really solving a lot of the data that really gets into what Fliptop is going to be able to go and build a good lead score for us. So one of the things that we do is we really reduce the number of form fields for us down. We just use 4. And then we go and basically enrich out to a complete lead profile that Fliptop's able to go and build and score those leads off of. So by putting the market intelligence platform of Inside View in between your form fields and our CRM, it allows Fliptop to have better data that ultimately helps them build a more accurate score, certainly for us. And it also helps to ensure a better user experience for your prospects. So how exactly does it work? We're a big Marketo shop, so all of our demand gen our forms, as well as most of our marketing activity is going to originate in Marketo. And so Marketo will be the kind of first step. We get anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 leads a month on average. Like I said, we reduce the number of form fields down to 4. So when they sign up for a webinar or they download an ebook, we're only asking for their name, company, an email address. So our conversion rates are pretty high because of that, because we're not putting a high barrier of entry to really get into and engage with Inside View. From there, Inside View, our Inside View Enrich product will go and kind of take that out and turn it into 28 form fields. And then once that happens, Fliptop comes in and it really kind of scores from a demographic perspective how closely that lead matches to a likely buyer of Inside View. So by actually reducing form fields and by putting Fliptop in place, we're able to have a much better sense of who is likely a buyer for us and who is likely not a buyer for us. And that helps us prioritize and score the leads a lot more accurately for our sales team. And ultimately what we're able to drive is really high conversion rates, right? And what we really wanted to do is help prioritize for our sales team what leads to be following up on and when. So when Fliptop scores an A lead, we actually push that immediately into our SDR team and they go and just run after it. And we're seeing 90+% conversion rates on those leads. And we also marry this with really aggressive SLA agreements where we are just bugging the crap out of our SDR team to actually go and follow up on those leads as well. And the rest we kind of prioritize, and it helps us deal with those leads more effectively. And then from an outbound marketing process, we actually kind of do things slightly different. And obviously inbound marketing is important, but when you are starting to talk about larger companies like enterprise, outbound marketing and account marketing are really effective nowadays as well. So we actually start with Fliptop because they've done this great job of figuring out who our likely buyers are and who we should be targeting. So we start and pull some of the criteria out of Fliptop. We then put that into our own product and actually generate a list of target accounts from that. And then we leverage a great application called ToutApp. If you guys have never heard of it, I would go and Google this. It's for your sales team, but it basically allows you to go in and execute an outbound email campaign. You can put templates in there and all that stuff, but the sales team is using ToutApp to actually go and execute on some of our outbound campaigns through there. And in some of the results, once again, it's all about prioritizing for the sales team. So A's and B's scored accounts that come from Fliptop are going directly into an SDR team, and they've got a very high-touch account marketing program, and we're able to actually drive. Last quarter, we actually just found this out last week. We've got done, so this slide doesn't reflect it, but we actually had 200% to goal for our outbound SB teams last quarter, which is just amazing progress. And the combination of these applications really allowed us to do that. So a couple of the results slides here. The big thing that we really wanted to drive, once again, was trying to get more leads into the hands of sales, but also doing a lot more prioritization on them. It's the entire point of lead scoring. So when we started, we had a lead to MQL conversion rate of about 8%. We're able to double that to 17%, which basically means that more leads are flowing into our SDR team. So that's a great thing from my perspective. The other nice thing, which we kind of thought it was going to happen, but we didn't really know, the time it took for us to qualify a lead actually went down to 7 days from 21. So we were able to generate more leads into the sales team, and we're able to do it a lot quicker, which means that we're able to follow up much quicker as well. So if you remember back a couple slides ago, being timely is one of the key things that you need to focus in on, not just a relevant message, but you need to make sure that you're doing it in a timely way. So the faster you're able to get on the leads and qualify and make sure you're prioritizing, the best. That's really going to lead to some pretty high-end results as well. And so just to summarize, it's ensuring really good experience with form fields, things like that. You want to keep your sales team focused. There's a lot of stuff going on, and the more you can help prioritize the right leads and the right accounts to follow up on, they're going to be a lot more productive. They're going to like you a lot more as well. And you're going to want to make sure that they've got an understanding of any type of lead scoring, certainly when it comes to Predictive and Fliptop. You want to make sure that they understand the score and they have things visible so they could build reports in Salesforce for it, sort in their views based on the predictive score as well. And then another thing which is really key is aggressive SLAs with your sales team. From a marketer's perspective, you're spending a lot of money to generate these leads. You want to make sure that they're followed up when they're supposed to be followed up on. So having proactive lead alerts, things like that, and really marching to those to that cadence is really key to ensuring this type of performance as well. And I think that's about it. I'll turn it back over to Farkhanda here.
Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate it. So you guys are probably wondering, how did we help InsideView create some of those phenomenal wins? And I didn't know about the 200% or 200x improvement from last quarter, so that's really exciting. What we do is we pull out the historical closed won and closed lost opportunity data from Salesforce, so from your Salesforce instance, and we incorporate or append, so to speak, in the back end in our database, over 3,500 data signals with your historical sales information. And what that allows us to do is to create a digital fingerprint of the likely customer for you. So some of the things that you may not know about demographic, geographic, firmographic data that is involved in the likelihood of a company becoming a future customer of yours is what we do. So we really take care of the science of predictive analytics, so all of you can really worry about the art of selling and marketing. And we score all of your leads, contacts, opportunities, and accounts within your Salesforce instance, so it's a seamless integration. And all your sales and marketing team sees are a range of grades and or scores. You determine what your preference is, and we can really configure dashboards, reports, things that are really impactful for your organization. And from there, you can look up our grades and scores within an account, lead, opportunity, or contact record, or we can help you configure views so that it's a really seamless and easy process for your sales to really deploy using predictive lead scoring. And with that, I'm actually going to open it up for questions. If you guys want to see a demo, or gals want to see a demo of our technology, we're in Moscone West, 825. Happy to answer any questions at this point.
Now, I know you said you do lead scoring, opportunity scoring, and account scoring. Do you factor the account scoring into the lead scoring itself? So in other words, not just taking a look at that person's activity, but also in a broader sense, the account-based activity to determine what the predictive capabilities are of them converting? Or do you only look at the individual?
We do. So it's a multitude of signals that we look at. We look at firmographic data related to that particular lead or contact. So if they're coming from inside view, we can say, okay, inside view looks similar to your historical, opportunities or an account that has turned into a customer for you. And from there, we layer on the individual's signals as well. So we can say, okay, this person is of this title, and you guys typically sell up to that particular title in an organization. So it's a multitude of signals that we look at, but that's a great question.
If I'm looking at, you take an action,
Mm-hmm.
right, and I'm going to explore that action, at the same time, you say, not only the action that you took, but I'm going to look at, say, I know that you belong to GE or something like that, and I see a lot of other activity within GE. Does that influence the score that comes through with that person and their activity at all, or is it kind of stuff?
If I understand your question correctly, you're asking a little bit more of, do we incorporate behavioral scoring and account scoring? Right. So we do so at the individual level. We do also incorporate the amount of activity. So we incorporate activities from Marketo and Eloqua that are required or that are a threshold for that company becoming a customer for you. So yes, we do incorporate that at the account level as well. Yes.
I have a question for Joe. You said that you're using Marketo, and I know that they have a very comprehensive lead scoring system. So are you using that lead scoring just to push it to Salesforce, and then this is the other side of it, or is this strictly cold, not inbound, new leads, or how does that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, Marketo's lead scoring stuff is pretty good, but what we use is of like a demographic kind of a fit. We do our own kind of behavioral scoring on that as well. If you think about all the different things that you do in marketing, inbound's one, but you're going to have trade shows like this, you're going to have webinars, you're going to have leads coming from a lot of different areas, so you can't always necessarily rely on a traditional behavioral score, which is why we see Fliptop as being really important for those types of activity follow-ups as well.
So are they tied together in any way?
They are. So like one of the things that we do is if back as an A lead in Fliptop, we automatically pop it as an MQL and push it in regard to behavior score as well. It's incorporated in. We do most of the behavior stuff out of marketing, but we do leverage them both, and they work together.
And did you have to buy a secondary app in addition to Marketo and Fliptop and Salesforce in order to make the three play together?
No, there's native integrations for all three. The install actually is very straightforward. Vercount actually leads the account team for them, so I think I had to install a Salesforce plugin, and that was it. Like, it took 5 minutes, and then they went and did. And so it just worked. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't have on mic. We look at the full gamut of behavioral activity for your leads and contacts and the overall account. But the types of behavioral activities that contribute to an account becoming a customer for you really varies from company to company. That I'm not really sure. I can take that question offline. We do incorporate things like Act Nows, for example, and things that we find to be pretty relevant for your business and certain actions that are showing up repeatedly. So we look for correlations, things that are coming up in patterns. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Is there any kind of closed loop score validation that, once you achieve an A-level score, you go back and look and see, well, how many of those that we predicted to be A's actually were A's, and maybe adjust your algorithm accordingly?
We actually do quarterly business reviews where we analyze the predictiveness, so to speak, of the model that we've created for you. As I'm sure for your business, with any other business, the types of customers that you sell to, the types of industries that you're penetrating tends to evolve. and we evolve with your business. So if you're selling to a particular industry and the next quarter you have an influx of the financial services sector, so you're selling a ton more to financial services, we modify your predictive model in our back end on a daily basis, but we do a full sweep and really analyze the effectiveness of your model and kind of tweak it on a quarterly and biannual basis.
But it's more manual, there's not any kind of iterative learning process that's handled through the software platform where we'll go back and check how often did a lead actually convert to sales.
It actually is machine learning. So our algorithm does get modified on a daily, weekly, monthly basis on the back end without any manual effort. However, we do a full sweep, and what I mean by sweep, or rebuild your model usually by annual basis if your business requires it. So we really gauge that with our customers. Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
Or algorithm the same or based on different customers you use different algorithms for prediction?
We do use different algorithms for different customers and different types of businesses. So we're very consultative in our process. When you join with us, we ask you a ton of questions and do a knowledge gathering call with customer success to determine the goals of your business requirements and needs. And we develop a couple of different models from the get-go. And we have what we call a machine learning tournament in our back end to see which model is likely to generate the most amount of wins. And that can be conversions, that can be revenue for your business. So we do create several types of models, and then depending on your business, we can create a unique model for you.
How long does it take to get a model?
So your question was, how long does it take to build a model, and how much data do you need to build a model? So we can build a model within 48 hours, but usually it takes between 48 hours and up to a week to build a predictive model for most of our customers, especially when it's very customized to their business needs. With that said, in order for us to build a really statistically relevant and solid model, we need enough data to build you a model. So usually that's about 75 to 100 wins or customers, existing customers, and close one deals that we will need in order to begin that process and that discussion.
Can you explain about how your database scales? Because I'm guessing you've got a database of all these businesses, and that's how you're predicting who's a good fit. How does it scale down for somebody who's targeting a local business or targeting small businesses with less than 50 employees? These are businesses that are harder to identify because they are small. Mm-hmm. Does it scale to that level?
We do. So we work with companies who target SMB organizations, mid-market, enterprise. So we really run the gamut in terms of who we work with. And we have over 40 data partnerships with companies like InsideView, D&B, and a slew of other data partners. So we are able to acquire data that we use to append in the process for companies as small as 2 people, mom and pop shops, to companies that have thousands or hundreds of thousands of employees. Any other questions? We'll allot for one more question and then kind of sign off. Yes. Of course.
Yeah, so we actually play around with a lot of different types of technologies like this. We have actually used similar companies that do like a predictive lead gen kind of a thing. Been there, it was interesting, but ultimately, certainly at the time that we tried them, we didn't have as robust of a system to go and do the things necessary to really turn them into anything. So for us, it was a lot more interesting to use a system like Fliptop, which really helped us deal with issues of scale, which we always have, because our business is fairly robust when it comes to things like web visits and ultimately lead gen activity that gets in. So for us, we wanted something that helped deal with that rather than trying to do net new leads and net new contacts. So, and then because of the way Fliptop works, obviously we've got our own kind of data provider, which is our own product. So we don't necessarily have to have the same issues as not. But we have used them. If you have any specific questions, I can get pretty specific on that stuff too.
All right, so with that, we will wrap it up. Thank you all so much for attending. Wonderful questions. If you have any other questions, feel free to grab me. I'll be around, and thank you all. Thank you, Joe.